Chapter 1, Strategy Progression. We know that strategy has existed basically since the beginning of time. We can go back to the biblical days and we see that David used strategy to defeat Goliath. Strategy then evolved into military strategy, and then the focus was on annihilating our competition. There were some books written. One of the most famous books written about strategy is Sun Tzu's book about the art of war. And that's where we introduced thinking, or the art component of war. And he said that basically the only way to win war is to not start a war. And then we moved into Machiavelli, and Machiavelli actually introduced deception into strategy, and deception was the strategy. Target people's weaknesses and things like that. And then Karl von Clausewitz came out and said, we need plans, strategies, but the plans need to be flexible and adapt to the changing environment of war. And he also introduced the concept of leadership into this, and how leaders have a direct impact on the success of strategy. So they needed to be able to lead their people, motivate their people, and adapt the strategy. And then in the 1960s, business adopted the strategy that came out of military. So business came on right around the 60s and said, it's time that business started making strategy official. Now, strategy existed in business long before that, but it wasn't until the 1960s until it became a practice. And then, of course, the universities picked up on this as well. So now we had this confluence of strategy becoming something very important in business. And when the business started adopting strategy, they went back to military strategy. And the military strategy was annihilating the competition. So guess where business went? Business went right to competitive advantage, annihilating your competition. Business schools followed. So there was this focus on annihilating the competition, and that's why we have so many competitive wars in business. Now, competition is a really strong motivator, but I would argue that it's not the best and highest motivator for us. The highest motivator is really pursuing something great, pursuing our potential, our cause. So we went through this whole process of business adopting military strategy, which is really about annihilating the competition. So that's why we would expect that businesses are really focused on annihilating competition. I would argue that today that's probably not the most or the highest and best use of our motivation, is to annihilate competition. So now we look at where we are today, and I think it's time for a shift in strategy. It's time for us as leaders inside our organizations to look at how do we motivate, how do we align, how do we create this group of people that are working towards something really special. And that something special is our organizational cause or our potential as human beings. What is your potential as an organization? If we remove the barriers of just focusing on our competition and we look at how do we work together in order to create something really special. And that's this whole shift in business strategy, shifting away from annihilating our competition, shifting away from just being a little bit better than our competition, in order to focus on how we can become something really great as a unit, as a group, as an organization, where we impact our employees, our customers, and our community.